Thank you for coming on this lovely summer day. So our beloved Abbott is on vacation and his mom's sick, so he may also be with her. I'm not sure about that, but that's what's up with him and Azusa taking a well-needed vacation. So this talk is focused on the exploration of interdependence, and we all can relate with that. And interdependence in Buddhism is the core teaching. That's one of the foundations of Buddhist teachings is interdependence. And that's one of the dimensions, you might say, that the Buddha woke up to in his awakening experience. And we have variations on a theme of that in the teachings that we explore. There is a specific teaching, the 12 links of interdependent origination or dependent origination, co-arising. And in the Heart Sutra that we chanted this morning, we just named the first and the last because the Heart Sutra is basically focused on brevity. So it gives you the first of the 12 links, which is ignorance, and the last, which is old age and death. So it's this cycle of interdependence. However, they're not necessarily linear, but they're all interlinked and related. And some schools of Buddhism deconstruct this and study it extensively. We don't do that so much, but we sweep the floor, we clean the dishes, we work in the office, and that's actually addressing that in its own direct, simple way. However, there's opportunities for deep exploration. So yeah, interdependence. Shunyata is a Sanskrit word that we use sometimes, but it's translated as emptiness, and we know that emptiness, the translation is misleading because it really isn't about something that's empty. It's very interconnected and interrelated and totally related with interdependence. So emptiness is really about emptiness of a separate self. So more of an organism of no self. There's a provisional self. We all have selves, we all have lives, we all have schedules, and that is really good. And we should take care of them. However, it's a bigger picture that we're related with, and we all know that. So Buddhism explores that in its own way. So Zazen, which we have the good fortune to sit today, is really a direct exploration of that. So everyone has the access to that whenever they can, integrate that into their lives. Fortunately, we do it here quite often. Zazen is central to Soto Buddhism practice, which is we're a school of Soto Buddhism. So we directly engage in the exploration of interdependence via Zazen. And it's available to everybody, free. So sit when you can. And Thich Nhat Hanh says that we're actually, all of us are already in nirvana. I wouldn't say that, but he can say that, so I'll quote him because he knows. He means that just by being wherever we are and breathing and maybe taking a couple steps, we can access an aspect of nirvana. Point being, we're not dwelling in the past or the future, which we humans tend to do quite a bit. And we need to make plans and so forth and so on. However, it gets carried away. And that's the beauty of Zazen, is we will observe our minds. And they are organisms that excrete thoughts. So all of us do that. And it's okay. That's just excreting thoughts. And you think, okay, look at that thought. You know, I don't have to get too attached to it. Um, Dana, which is one of the 6 paramitas of a bodhisattva, the first paramita, meaning perfection, but not being necessarily perfect, but more so the exploration and unfolding of that. So we can all do that. It's not about being perfect. So the perfections of wisdom, these are the core teachings of Prajna Paramita. So dana is something we all engage in one way or another. This temple actually functions and thrives via dana, which Sanskrit for generosity. So this temple was fortunate enough to have a generous sangha that sustains everything we do. So that is another dimension of interdependence. Uh, we're, we're dependent on generosity from the community, and we have Buddhist teachings to share with the community. So there's a reciprocal, lovely dance of interpenetration and interdependence. Breathing is a practice of interdependence. In yoga, they call that prana, so it's a vital energy. So if you're a little stressed out, or you're in a traffic jam, or wherever you are, you can take a couple, 3 breaths. Another one. And there's interdependence. So the breath is a vital practice, and a lovely one to tune in with and practice it consciously. Well, I hope people are taking a bit of time to enjoy summer. I meant to say that at the beginning, and I didn't. But whatever that is one does, whether they go swimming or they like to make special foods or what have you, is we have lovely summers here. Almost Mediterranean, but not quite. We get a lot more rain, but we're not too far from that. But anyway, I make gallons of lemonade with lemons and limes. And interestingly enough, my aunt, who was my godmother when I was a little boy, she always wanted to look after me, although I did have parents, but she pampered me. And she would make this lemonade, so I still make it. And on these hot 95-degree days, it works really well. So come have a glass of lemonade with me. During our sessions, we have a meal recitation. We have many recitations, actually. Sesshin meals, which is called oryoki, is probably our most involved ceremony that we do. And many of you have experienced that. And if you haven't, come join us during Sesshin. It's a very nice experience. So during that, we recite a meal verse, and part of that is, may we realize the emptiness of the 3 wheels: giver, receiver, and gift. So very much an exploration and an engagement of interdependence. And that, may we realize, so realization is an interesting word. So this is something that you can't fabricate. It kind of organically rises of its own accord in nature, realization. So may we realize the emptiness of the three wheels: giver, receiver, and gift. So very, very interrelated. Where's the gift? Where's the receiver? Where's the giver? Something to explore. Concerning interdependence, recently we planted some pollinator gardens. Uh, we have a friend that runs a nursery, Doak Nursery, outside of Eugene, and she specializes in native plants, trees, shrubs, flowers, ground cover, all this. So we asked her to please come here and give us some advice on pollinator plants, because we wanted to invite bees and butterflies and hummingbirds and numerous other insects to this space and be with all these wonderful plants. So it's another continuation of interdependence, and an important one. Insects are part of the foundation of actually the life of the planet. Actually, E.O. Wilson, some of you know about him. He was a famous biologist, professor, and his specialty was insects, actually ants. He devoted his whole career to ants, but he stressed how important insects are to the fabric of life. We're on the topic of plants. How about forest ecology? Since we're surrounded by amazing forests, and some of the old forests is still alive. And there was a scientist, research scientist, Chris Masser, who used to come to Eugene in the 80s and give slideshows about forest ecology. And what was quite interesting, it was a new field for the most part. And he was at OSU and Bureau of Land Management. So he was super excited about looking at the forest from a scientific perspective and studying the soil, the birds, the animals, and how interconnected and interdependent certain species were for that whole system to function. And interesting, decay was a prominent part. So dead standing old trees like 300, 400, 500, they stand for quite some time. And then they fall over, or living trees fall over. And so then they decay, but they take quite a long time. So they study these trees. It could be 50, 100, 200 years where that process is going. And all this amazing life that they found in these decaying trees was something just infinite, amazing, including storage of water and so forth, and then feeding the mycelia under the earth. Now scientists are telling us, that trees communicate in various ways. Some of you maybe The Secret Life of Trees, this German scientist. And then there's another woman in Canada that's studying that. So it goes on and on about the complexities of nature that we're just kind of scratching the surface too. But in a sense, we're doing the same thing in Zazen. Another aspect of interdependence is listening, deep listening. We have tendencies sometimes, certainly me, more so in the past, but I'd listen a little, but no, I want to tell you what I got to say. But you know how that goes. And that's okay, but listening is very important. So deep listening is really true medicine. And another, dimension of interdependence. And listen to the wind. Or a bird. Or a car brake squeaking. So when we sit here in the hall, initially when I came here, well, it's so noisy. There's people outside talking. There's a car. Somebody's hitting a horn. There's a stereo blasting. And then after a while, okay, it's just what happens here, and it's part of life. And don't push it away, but don't pull it. Just let it be and listen. So interdependence, we some of us just celebrated 4th of July. Independence Day. And we know the history of that. How about we have an international holiday of Interdependence Day? But it doesn't last a day, it just continues. Huh? I think we're on the way to that, actually. Very much so. We don't have a choice, but we will do it. Interdependence Day. So I heard the name of James Lovelock on the deceased list that was recited today. And some of you are probably familiar with him, but he was a scientist and developed the Gaia hypothesis. Essentially that the Earth is a living organism. And I don't know the whole hypothesis at all, but he really went into that. And of course, it seems quite logical that that would be the case. So that when you tamper with this part or that part or the oceans or the forests, they are linked in more ways than we know. And Gaia was a Greek goddess. So we're thankful to the Greeks for their goddesses. We need some new ones. So climate change, as we're all aware of, or climate catastrophe would be a more realistic expression, is totally connected with everything that we're talking about here. However, it's very real, but it has the potential for a unifying principle for the species. And I believe it will be that. And with that, I'm a student of Joseph Campbell. Many of you know about Joseph Campbell. He's a scholar of comparative mythology and comparative religion. He's written a number of books and interviews with Bill Moyers and so forth and so on. And so his perspective is, in his later books, is that all the old mythologies no longer serve us. So there's a new one rising, and we don't know what that is, but it's related with interdependence. So it's very exciting because it is, and it will be true medicine, and it's unfolding right now. But he also said that no one can design a mythology. Um, that's good news. And you can't design your dreams. They're connected. So dreams come of themselves as they will, and a mythology will come. So I was reading Alice Walker, poet, uh, civil rights activist in the 70s, 80s. Probably best known for her novel, The Color Purple, but a great poet. So this little poem was from, I think, her last book. It said, "One world, one people, one love." Why not? So I'd like to open it up for questions, but also anyone that would like to share something about interdependence, please do. Hi.
I was thinking of like I often think of it as an act of receiving,
Mm-hmm.
but applying the giver receiver gift too doesn't, because we're not alone in here. We're not one me in here. Just I was thinking about it as an act, listening to the offering that we give, and we receive phenomena, and that's also that's the gift of life coming into because that act of sitting is kind of. It just struck me the amount of times that triads appear and how we can apply that to seeing the things
Mm-hmm.
where it doesn't apply to see how they're connected. So thanks for that. It was really helpful to see it that way.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Robert were kind of talking about this like
Yeah.
something about interdependence that really resonates with me is I don't know, it just kind of seems that everything is required for like me personally to be who I am and to be in existence, and that means like everyone how they are, all things how they are, and it doesn't mean that things should change, that there's work that needs to be done, but that reality kind of it brings me to a place of gratitude, I suppose, for like all beings being who they are and all things being how they are, which results in a sort of joy and also compassion for the beings that suffer and then cause others to suffer because of their anger and hatred.
Thank you. Gratitude. Yeah.
I thought interdependence is maybe understood. The Buddha was a prince,
Yes.
was brought up in luxury. He went out in the world and he saw people sick, people dying, people suffering. So he went the usual stuff. He said, I want to find a way out of this. And he did the usual Brahmin stuff. He starved himself. He lived in the forest. And I always, what interdependence means to me is that he was sitting under the tree where he finally understood. And a woman brought him milk, you know, and a grass cutter brought him some grass to sit on. And he said, we have to help each other. And that's interdependence because life is suffering. And it's because it's change. And that's how I got into interdependence, which is different than socialism.
Yeah.
But it's got elements of that.
Thank goodness. Okay. Yeah. Good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes.
Like you, I'm a gardener, like a lot of people here, probably growing vegetables or flowers at your home. And over the years, certainly wasn't aware of this for a long time, but it's where I am acutely aware of interdependence. And don't even feel like I can say I grew these tomatoes or I grew these apples because I'm so clear I'm part of a whole web of life that grows a tomato or grows an apple. And would those tomatoes exist in my yard without me planting them? No. And yet I can't do it by myself. And that goes right down to the thousands or millions or billions of soil organisms that without all those organisms we wouldn't have life. And so it's a continual lesson for me, the interdependence of how things grow. And also a lesson in generosity. I feel like the interdependence of everything feeding off of each other and nourishing each other. It's part of the circle or circle of generosity. So I try to remember. I'm not very good at this to bow to my plants before I pick something. And it's also occurred to me I probably should be doing that when I'm pruning too, to just acknowledge the generosity that that plant is giving to me. And so just want to share that.
Yeah, thank you. It sounds like you're part of a gardening cooperative or something. Good.
So I say thank you, and as I get older, it's just so hilarious to see and be reminded that, like, we're never alone, which is something I think a lot of people in this culture and families and friends around me experience, and my own self too. But just as I get older, it's just hilarious to feel the walls just breaking and just constantly being reminded in little ways that, like, everything is everything, and just you just talk and just it's just amazing. Seeing you and the shirt I'm wearing on the back, it says one peculiar organism aren't we all together.
Nice. Yeah, thank you. That's important as far as loneliness goes, which is very real for many people. And so how do you work with that as a person?
For me, it's just to notice the little things around in life.
Nice, thanks. Hi.
I'm inspired by the word hilarious.
It's a good one.
Yes, it's a great one. So I'm going to tell this little story. As I got older, I realized hilariously that independence was highly overrated. And we live in a culture that totally goes for that. And so gradually I sort of developed this concept that to ask for help is an act of generosity. And a couple of days ago, I got a phone call from a young friend of mine who had moved, who several years ago, I sort of picked him and his girlfriend up on the street when they were soaking wet from a bicycle ride in the pouring rain to Corvallis, and they ended up staying at my house for several days, and we became good friends. And then they left and everything, and I hadn't talked to Israel for some time. And when he called me, we chatted for quite a while, just before you came over to Louise, talked about Interdependence. And one of the things that he said to me was, "Thank you so much. I will never forget the opportunity that you gave me when you asked for help when you were having your surgery. And you let me in to help you." He didn't thank me for taking him off the street. He thanked me for giving him the opportunity to give me something in exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't an exchange. I mean, that's the wrong word. That's one of those words that we have to get rid of. I just wanted to tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Kogen,
Hi.
as we were talking this morning, I thought about, of course, in this school, thought about emptiness quite a bit and how we have such trouble understanding emptiness and confuse emptiness with, getting rid of the self. But I realized too that for the first time in juxtaposition, we do have an empty, full language in our culture in the phrase, a person is full of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And aren't we like so full of ourselves in this independent culture, in like the delusion of independence and being full of ourselves that we can't realize emptiness and interdependence. So I thought I would share that. Um, realize that like we do have that in our culture, full of that language
Mm-hmm.
to be able to pin and start to understand emptiness and fullness. That is part of our lexicon.
Yeah. Thank you. Please.
Well, I'm glad that our culture was mentioned a couple of times by people. I'm glad the illusion of independence was mentioned by Reiko, because there is a lot of talk in our culture about being independent and not dependent on government and things like that. The idea of a self-made man or a self-made woman is often respected by our culture. But I think I was talking to my brother about this the other day, who I'm dependent on right now, a little bit financially.
Mm-hmm.
I have some health issues I'm dealing with. I'm going to be okay. But we were talking about this idea of self-made people who are not dependent. But everybody is, of course, because these people were cleaned as infants, and some people don't have that good luck in their history. They were educated, they were taken care of in many, many, many ways, and so it really is an illusion to be independent, because a lot of these people had a big platform to stand on starting off. A lot of other people don't, especially when it comes to merging with our very rigid nuts and bolts So I just
Yeah.
said that, but I wanted to share.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hi. Thank you so much for speaking as well too. The interdimension of everybody involved together and being a symbiotic environment is great and greatly important. I was reminded when you were talking, I just watched an amazing documentary recently. I think it was called The Year the World Changed.
Mm-hmm.
David Attenborough.
Oh,
David Attenborough.
yeah.
But it was about what happened during COVID to our environment, nature,
Oh.
animals, and you can see the Himalayas in India that they haven't seen in 30 years, and all the different things that I think that, as a society and structure, and like the things you're speaking of, there's sometimes it breaks down to that self so much of what about me? What am I doing? What am I getting? What are these are things for me as humans?
Mm.
And instead, when we realize what are we getting, we realize when the humans step to the side for a little while, nature takes care of itself a lot better and was able to grow a little bit more.
Oh.
And instead of the tumultuous people thinking through that time, all the things that they were going through, the benefits that were actually happening to the world around during
Oh.
that period of time were far greater
Yeah.
than anybody suffering. So,
I like that word you use, symbiotic. It's a nice word. Saranam Gacchami Dhammam Saranam Gacchami Sangham Saranam Gacchami Dutiyampi Buddham Saranam Gacchami Dutiyampi Dhammam Saranam